Welcome to the Business of Cleaning. We are the business podcast for the cleaning industry, and what we do is bring industry expertise straight to your ears every single week. For our April mini season, we've brought on guest Mike Derryberry to talk about an introduction to leadership. Leadership is huge, and it is important that you learn how to leverage it as a success tool for your business. Get ready, sit back, and just listen. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Business of Cleaning. My name is Haley, and this is our last episode of our April mini season. So getting ready for season 3 and all the content that we have lined up for you, we're going to bring Mike on for one last episode on leadership. And we've got a special episode. We've given you a really great dive into what makes a great leader, but there's one last thing that we need to touch on, and something that is so don't want to say relevant because it's always been relevant, but maybe so much more at the forefront of our mind. And that is our ability to lead during change. And so really, Mike, I'm going to go ahead and let you jump in because I think you'll be able to talk best on it.
Well, yeah, obviously, it's pretty obvious. Change is something that, a year ago, we were all going, yeah, life is good, Yeah. And we probably were kind of complacent. Many of us were probably complacent because everything was going well. I can tell you right now, man, 2019 for us was a banner year. It was the best year we'd ever had. We were killing it. And we had in December of 2019, we had sat down and we had a strategy meeting and we started looking towards the next 12 months and we started breaking up into quarters and it was like, oh man, we have this plan. Man, we're on an up and to the right, everything is good, we're going to grow. And then, late February, early March, and all hell broke loose, and the world turned upside down. And then you're sitting there going, okay, so all those plans and all that planning and all that strategizing we did just went out the window because it has no application to what we're doing right now. So then what do you got to do in the middle of all that? And the thing that's interesting to me is I don't think that the principles that we learned or we should have learned during this last year are less applicable at any other time. I just think they got highlighted. I think that they got really put on the front burner and kind of magnified, and everybody went, oh my gosh, we need to think about pivoting. And that's a key word we hear people talking about. You got to pivot. Well, yeah, you do. But you've got to do it strategically. And we were in a situation where, in the janitorial industry, everybody says, well, it's kind of the janitorial industry is kind of a recession proof. Yeah, well, I got news for you. It ain't a pandemic proof. And we all learned that this year, right? Maybe in the recession, you go from 5 days a week to 3 days a week or something like that, at least in our industry. We had about 40% of our customers literally shutter within a week, that quick. You make your head spin when you think about the financial repercussions of that. So we had to really quickly, okay, what are we going to do? Well, the realization was we had already been doing some things and already been positioning ourselves. And ironically enough, we had already started the process of bringing on board some equipment, some different things that would allow us to do a lot of disinfection and that sort of thing. That for us was a pivot. That was something we thought we can put all of our attention into that for right now, and we can still continue to push forward on getting new business, but we need to look at some other kinds of things as well. And so we started looking at different marketing. We started looking at different, different tools, different processes, different needs that our customers have. What was it that was different? What was it that they needed? What were they going to be facing when they came out of this? What were going to be some big challenges that we could meet? And we spent some time, really doing a lot of conversation and a lot of discussion about what is it that we can do as a company to serve our customers. And I'll be honest, the reality of that was so impactful, because when we would go to the customer and say, look, I know you're having difficult times. How can we help you? What can we do to help you? Our focus is on helping you get through this, because we try to communicate to our customers, listen, without you, we don't have a business. So you are critically important to us. What can we do to help you increase your business? What can we do to help you continue to have business? What can we do to help you? And when we took that mindset, all of a sudden there were some other ideas that started coming in. Oh, well, we can do this because this customer said they needed this, and this customer. And I'll be honest with you, we're doing things now because of what happened, not in spite of it. And I say that because in the middle of that, we were observant enough. We saw that there were some needs that various different customers had, but we saw I can apply that same idea to a different industry. We service probably 13, 15 different industries. Key major industries with all the buildings that we do. Well, guess what? Every one of these buildings, every one of these industries is unique in their own way, but they also have some commonalities. And what happens is sometimes I think you get so wrapped into the same routine that you don't see this. I guess what's the word I'm looking. There's not a solution for this. Category A. You've learned something out of category B that now can be applied over here and solve another problem that they may not even realize that they had. But when they get it solved, they go, oh my gosh, this has made a huge amount of difference for us. And so we were able to do a number of those kinds of things and add products and add services and approach our customers in ways that we had previously only used in a particular industry, but we saw we could apply that in a different industry as well, because we had conversations and discussions with customers and finding out where they were and what their needs were. We adjusted, to those kinds of things. We basically looked at what was going on and made adjustments rather than steadfastly saying, we're just going to plow through and we're going to hunker down and we're going to make this work. No, you've got to be flexible. You've got to think outside. Well, I say that. I have an axiom. People say, think outside the box. And I'm going, okay, I heard this guy, he was an inventor. And he said, the greatest inventions are because someone has decided to throw away the box. So it wasn't that they thought outside the box. He says, you think outside the box, you're still relating to the box. Throw the box completely away and start fresh. And I thought, that is brilliant. So we've tried to do that in a lot of different ways. It's just, okay, if we didn't have a box, what would we do? How would we approach this? And that has really helped us create new services and provide different ways of serving our customers and different ways of relating. My whole point here is when you're in leadership position and your industry or your business in more of a microcosm, your particular business runs into crisis or there's major change, most people look at it like, oh, this is a bad thing. Change is bad. Change is a problem. No, it isn't. It's an opportunity. It's forcing you to look at the situation differently. Okay, I can't do it the way I've been doing it. Is there another way I can do it? I mean, one of the things that I challenge our team to think about all the time is ask lots and lots of questions. I mean, what are they doing in other industries to solve this particular kind of a problem? What other products are out there? Do we even know what the products are? What would it cost us? What if we couldn't do this anymore? How would we solve that problem? What problem isn't being solved by the rest of the industry that we could solve? Start looking for this as an opportunity rather than as a problem. Unfortunately, what I see is people look at it and they go, it's a problem. I don't know what we're going to do. Oh my gosh, the sky is falling. Chicken Little, right? No, it's look at it as an opportunity. Change is always an opportunity to find a new solution, a different way of doing something, a different approach. And when you take that approach and when you take that mindset, it's amazing the kinds of things that open up to you.
It is extremely true. And you can tell immediately the people who embrace change versus the people who are afraid of change, especially at the beginning, a year ago, March of 2020, you could tell because
Yeah.
what we saw happen, and I talked about this on the other podcast I work on. I had actually a director of a sales college come in, and she works with both students and she works with professionals in the community. And she sets up all these events and does stuff like that. And she made a very true observation. Some people are so scared of change and can, really just throwing out the box when they need to. And actually instigating change and being actionable, that when a situation like this happened, a lot of people literally did nothing. Like the businesses would just stop doing what they were doing. Students and individuals would just stop doing what they were doing and only do exactly what they had to. And they weren't getting by. Like those were the students that started to fail. Those were the businesses that were starting to see high drops in productivity and
Right.
profits. And they were like, what are we going to, they really had to hit full panic because suddenly they weren't even able to sustain themselves. So you saw very quickly those who didn't have the right mindset. We're coming back to mindset again.
Yep.
Those who
Yeah.
didn't have
Yeah.
didn't have that right mindset froze and they did nothing. And then those who were like, okay, well, that kind of sucks, but what am I going to do? Like, what can I do next? We're like, they hit the ground running. And it was funny because she happened to have a pandemic plan in place for some of their things. And she's like, I never thought I'd get to use this, but here we go. And that was, my throat was getting a little dry. That was an opportunity for some students to step out and start doing new things. Some of those students who jumped on it right away, some of those business professionals, they got the hang of these remote conferences and events right off the bat and were able to just keep going. And I mean, those were people still bringing in interns, people who were in training and education in time that was a crisis. And like our company kept bringing, I literally, the day we were remote, we had somebody who were like, I know you were supposed to start today in office, but if you don't mind, come get your stuff. We're going to show you what it does. I'm going to send you home with it. And we were remote the same day she walked in. So, and we literally, it was cool because we have really great leaders here who said, okay, this is an opportunity to put our software to the test. We always say you can take it with you wherever you go because it's browser based. Let's go. And we had everybody out of the office probably a couple hours before lunch, working from home right after that. So we had our best year ever last year. We're looking at keeping that trend up this year, but you saw businesses do that. It wasn't just ours. It wasn't just a couple individuals who started attending events. There were so many people across the board that said, oh my gosh, we're doing good. And, they were trying not to shout it because our people weren't, but there was a difference in mindset if you looked at the leaders of those organizations versus the leaders of the ones that were struggling. And it was very true because some people, what they've done this entire thing, especially when everybody was at home, may not have been anything that they were doing before, but they were doing something and they were doing something well. So,
No, I say this. I'm in a large networking group, worldwide, and the company, flipped on like within a week. Everything went to Zoom because you couldn't. I mean, we're not allowed to have big gatherings and stuff. And in the middle of all that, I had the opportunities to speak to a group of business leaders, and we're in this networking, and I said to them, I said, it's really interesting. Um, Jim Collins wrote a book called Good to Great, and in that book he talks about General William Stockdale, and there's something called the Stockdale Paradox. And I said, here's the thing. Here's what Stockdale said. He said and for those of you who don't know, General Stockdale was the highest ranking, longest held uh, prisoner of war during the Vietnam War. Um, and he came out of it and thrived for years afterwards. And many of his men did too. And so Collins was interviewing me and asking me, how did that happen? And he said, because we had two things. We were completely optimistic that we would prevail and that we would succeed and that we would come through this and that we would be better because of us and this would be a defining moment in our lives. But we also understood the situation and we had a harsh, hard look at the reality that we were in, and we did not sugarcoat it, and we did not dismiss it, right? We faced it, but we faced it with optimism and determination that this would be that great moment in our lives. And I think that so many people just didn't want, they kept saying, oh, it's going to be over, it's going to be over, it's going to be over. Well, here we are 13 months later, and guess what? It's not over. So you have to just look at a situation, whatever that situation. It could be a pandemic, or it could be an industry change. It could be some kind of a legal, some law is passed, or there's a change in the tax laws, or there's change in you name it. It could be anything that's going to impact your business. Okay, so are you going to sit there and just let it hit you in the face over and over and over again? Or are you going to figure out a way to do something different? Are you going to be able to pivot? Are you going to be able to change? Are you going to be able to see a different way of doing the same thing? That's the question. And it gets to the point where I agree with you. There are these two camps. And again, you're right. It goes back to mindset, right? It's a fixed or a growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you basically say, oh, it is what it is, and I have to accept it. A growth mindset says, I see what it is, but I don't have to accept it. And I can go on and I can do other things, and I can figure out a different way. It's funny. I was in the gym this morning, and I was wearing a face mask, and I'm doing all the work, and I've had people say to me, how do you work out with the mask on? And I was thinking about this morning, I was thinking, it's really interesting. I'm to the point now where I'm so used to having the mask on when I'm working out, I'm not sure how I'm going to react when I can take it off. You know what I mean? You just change your way of thinking and you just continue on, right? It was a slight little dinky thing, but it's a change, right? It's the same thing in your business, though. You're going to find, oh, I can't do it this way anymore. I've got to do it this way. Okay, so you make the shift, right? I mean, you just do it a different way, or you come at it from a different direction, or you stop using one kind of marketing and use a different, or you use a different product, or you find a different solution to a different problem rather than the original problem. You can't do the original anymore? Okay, fine. Let's find another problem that we can solve, right? I mean, it's just being willing to keep moving and keep pushing forward and not allowing the obstacles to basically incapacitate you and just to create complete stoppage. And like you said, there were people that I saw this myself. I just saw people they just hung it up in a little ball in a little corner and just, sat there and just rocked back and forth. Oh, it's going to be horrible. And I also saw other people saying, oh my gosh, look at all these opportunities. Look at all these things I can do now. These things. I mean, Zoom has made, in my world, I have saved so much time I'm telling you, I don't have travel time anymore. It's wonderful. I get so much more accomplished in my day because actually get an extra 2 hours every day. Awesome, right? I mean, and so you've got to look at things differently based upon whatever the circumstances are. Is the pandemic going to change? Going to end? Well, I think it's probably going to abate. I don't think it was ever going to go completely away. I don't think we're ever going to see that it's not going to be here. But there will be some things that will go back to normal, but there'll be things that won't. Well, you can dig your heels in and say, well, I'm mad because we can't get everything back to be 100% the way it was in the beginning. Well, okay, a lot of the stuff I saw in the beginning wasn't all that great. In retrospect, I look back and I go, man, I'm glad this happened because it forced me to do this and it forced me into this thinking and I had to think about that. Like I said, I think that a lot of us were getting, life was good, man. Life was moving and was growing and then it wasn't, right? And so um, I think we got a little complacent, to be honest with you.
I think so too. It was, and I feel like we've mentioned this before, at least I have, being able to be comfortable, being uncomfortable
Yeah, I like
is
that.
so important. And those people who just can't stand to put themselves in an uncomfortable situation, to embrace the unknown and, continuously grow, are the ones that they froze because there was nothing known about what was going on in March. I mean, half the time there's still nothing known about where we're going to be with these vaccines. And, they just came out with the stuff about, oh, all these Johnson & Johnson vaccines were working. So they're not going to have any new ones going out for like the foreseeable future. And this is happening. This is happening. And it's like, if you look at it, well, this is happening, if you look at it with that mentality, of course, like, what are you going to, you're thinking, what am I going to do? I can't do anything. So you're just not going to do anything. And, but if you're used to putting yourself in uncomfortable situations so that you are able to kind of face your own emotions, like that's a huge thing, being able to face your own uncertainty and understand and get past that phase quickly so that you can get onto understanding the situation you're in and making a decision on what to do to move forward. You see a huge difference in those type of people from the people who just can't, they can't step on stage if they've got stage fright. They can't go network if they have people fright. They've boxed themselves in and they're content to sit in their corner and rock.
Yeah.
It has been so crazy. I'm so glad that my last couple years of college, I stepped into an academic fraternity, and I'm a huge introvert at heart. Step into an academic fraternity. Every chance I got up and spoke in front of somebody. I actually did a speakers competition my last couple semesters, and all the stuff that like freaked me out. I mean, I almost passed out my very first presentation of college because I was so freaked out. I presented so many times throughout my college career, especially in the last like 3.5 years, that it was ridiculous, to be honest. Some people like, do you want to present? I'd be like, I have nothing to say, but yes, I do. Do I sweat like crazy? Am I terrified? Yes, I am, but I will do it. And sometimes I just got in that stop saying no thing, like try something new and learn. Because then when the pandemic hit and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't stand remote classes. We are not coming back. That's all I got left. It was scary because
Yeah.
I had not failed a lot in college, but it's mostly been remote classes that I have failed. Um, and biology, but that's different.
Yeah. Well,
But
I think the thing about, about change, you're right. I mean, I think that change scares people, but then so the question you have to ask yourself is, why is it scaring people, right? I mean, what is it about change that scares people? And I think, I'm not a psychologist and I'm not a, anthropologist and I don't study all this stuff. But in the books that I've read in my own personal experience, I think a couple of the things that I think that are really scary for people about change is that it's that unknown. It's I need to be in control of my world, right? It's that whole idea that I need to be in control, and if I'm not in control, then I don't know what I'm going to do, right? And so it's a fear of being out of control. It's that fear of I will look bad if I'm in control, then I can control the outcome, right? But if I'm not in control, then I really don't have any control of the outcome. I don't know what it's going to mean for me. I don't know how I'm going to look. I don't know if I'm going to be looked at as being somebody who, is a failure or whatever, right? And I think again, it gets back to this mindset. We talk in our team all the time. We don't fail. We never fail. Now, my axiom, we say fail in there, but what we all understand is we're learning. And the idea is failure helps me learn. I mean, think about it. If I went and said, what's the biggest lesson you ever learned? I'm betting that the majority of people will equate that great lesson to a negative situation, to a situation that went wrong. I mean, I look back at some of my biggest lessons because I made a huge mistake. I made some big, big screw ups, right? But I learned some things out of that, and I'm never doing that again. But when you think about the real positive highs, yeah, you think favorably about those great highs, but then what did you learn? Don't really remember what I learned. We didn't learn anything from the successes. The successes are great, but typically we don't learn stuff from success. But by the way, success tends to lie to you anyway, because you get to believe that you're all that and that everything is great and that you have nothing more that you need to learn and we're all good. We're going to be settling in, which is a lie in and of itself. And that's where success comes in. And success basically it lies to you because you think you're really special when you just got lucky, or yeah, you hit it right this time, but what about next time? And that kind of thing. But boy, when you have a negative experience, I mean, you're all over that. I mean, you're picking that thing apart, you're dissecting it, you're down to the molecules, man. You're trying to figure out exactly what was the problem. I'm never going to do that again, right? I mean, that's where most of us are. What happens when change comes along is, ironically, we're afraid of that because we're afraid we're going to make a mistake. We're afraid of the mistakes. Well, guess what? You shouldn't be afraid of the mistakes. The mistakes are the things that are going to teach you something. The mistakes are the things that are going to help you grow and become better. So when hardship comes in or changes come in, look at that as an opportunity. I get to learn some stuff. I get to learn things. I get to be a better person when I come out the other side of this. Yeah, it's going to be hard, and yes, it's going to be difficult, and yes, I'm going to have to work at it. But on the other side of that, I'm going to be a better person because of it. Well, that's probably the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A fixed mindset sees it as something that's going to hurt them. A growth mindset sees it as something that's going to help them. It's going to make them better, right? If I could leave anybody with any kind of final thought, and I don't know whether we're done or not, but if any thought I could leave with people is, don't be afraid of stepping out and pushing the limits and expanding the boundaries. Don't be afraid of that. That's when you're going to grow. That's when you're going to become better. That's when you're going to learn things. I mean, I have friends and I have family who are, man, they're really reticent to step out. They don't want to I don't want to rock the boat. No, man. And I go over there and get on the edge of the boat and start doing this up and down, and they get all freaked out, and I'm going, no. It's a good thing. You need to learn whatever we're going to teach you, I mean, unfortunately, I think a lot of people just are afraid of the perceived pain, maybe, or the difficulty. And they think, well, if I'm really good at something, life should be simple and life should be easy. No. Pick any great achiever in life, Pick anybody that you admire and then go and study their life. Typically, they went through hell for years before they had success. But all we know is that stage moment, right? We saw them, no, they're up there on stage and they're the greatest ever, right? Yeah, but we didn't see what happened behind the curtain. We didn't see what happened for years and years and years and years of all the work and the struggle and the failures and the getting it back up again and taking on another challenge and falling down. And we didn't see any of that. All we see is that front stage moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope people don't allow themselves to be stifled by changes, whether it's in their business, whether it's in their industry, whether it's in the country, whether it's political, whether it's economic, whatever it might be. Don't allow yourself to retreat and pull back. Take that as a signal. It's an opportunity to do something new, to do something different, to be more than you were before. The only way you're going to expand and to become more is by challenging yourself, pushing yourself. So take that opportunity and step out.
I think that I can't say it better. I was just laughing when you were talking about friends and family who don't want to rock the boat, don't want to get splashed a little bit. And I was thinking, ooh, I have somebody in my family who would go right up and she'd shake the heck out of that boat just to do it. And
Yeah.
she'd be like, you wanted to do what? You want to do, oh, well, you have to shake, And then
Yeah.
you said that you jump on and shake the boat. I was like, man, you and my grandma right there. And she always has it's those people who and she was like this high school, college. Now, if I were talking about something and I talk about something I want to do, and she's like, oh, well, why aren't you doing it?
Yeah, challenge you, right?
And then I'm like, oh,
well,
and then you make excuses or
yeah,
you freeze because you're like, whoa, I don't actually have any. Why am I not doing it?
right.
And it's that complacency that sometimes even now, like even when you feel like you're grinding and you're doing things and you really are embracing change, there's still areas where you're not. And I find myself that somewhere like work and school, those are the places I would put myself out there. When it came to my home life, I'd put myself in that little box and I was content to sit there. I
Yeah.
still am it sometimes. It's hard to shake shake your own boat and to get out of that mindset. But you have to choose to do it, and you just have to make yourself uncomfortable and push beyond that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I don't think that, and I don't think that it's realistic to believe that we're all going to be, perfect in this. That in every opportunity, and I'm going to say in every opportunity, and every negative thing, and no matter where I am, I'm at every area of my life, I'm going to. No, and there are areas of our lives where we do tend to be more of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. But the objective is to be aware of it, to be aware of when I'm not taking the opportunity, not embracing the opportunity, and I'm shrinking back in fear of this change or this thing that's coming at me. But by being aware of it, we can whittle away at it, and we can get closer and closer to that ideal of being in every area of my life. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to challenge it because I'm like you. I mean, I've got areas where I'm still working on it. I'm still practicing. By the way, it's not innate. It's not innate. It's a tool. It's a practice that you have to continue to work at. It's a skill that you just have to keep working at it. And the best place to start is now. Start with wherever you are now. Start now. Pick something. Doesn't matter what it is. Pick something and say, yeah, I got this thing coming at me. Let's find a way around it. Let's find another way. I wanted to do that, and there's a roadblock. Okay. Are you going to let that stop you, or just find another way around it? I think it was Daniel Pink in his book Drive, and he says it's like this. You know, you're going down this trail, you're going down this pathway, and there's this huge brick wall in your way. He says you have some choices. You can either stop, you can climb over the wall, you can go around the wall, you can go under the wall, right? There are options. But so many people come to the wall and go, oh, guess I can't go any farther. You know, he says there's lots of ways around. You just got to take one. And I think that's what I guess I would say is that it's not that's not the only answer. Okay, the one direction you were going, okay, that one got blocked, but there are probably 3 or 4 other options and ways to get around that you have not yet pursued. Pick one and give that one a shot.
Exactly. I think this is the perfect place to wrap up this episode and our mini season. We have reached the end of our April mini season. And Mike, I just want to say how grateful I am that you joined us for this season and that you really did help us bring together these ideas and bring your own expertise straight to the forefront of the conversation, because this is so important always. And we need these conversations going. We need people actively practicing things. With good leaders, we can turn them into great leaders and keep going forward and make really great companies and just really great, just our communities can grow from that. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
thank
Well,
you,
thank
Mike.
you for having me on. I very much enjoyed this. As I told you offline like 2 weeks ago or something, I think I said to you, I really appreciate this because, you know, I've learned some things from you as well. I mean, you've shared some thoughts and, something, that was a thought I hadn't thought of. And I picked something up new from you as well. And this has been enjoyable for me and gave me the opportunity to fulfill my own personal purpose in life. And so it's great. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm really glad to hear that I could have this kind of impact, and so could our show, because it's my life. But also
That's good.
just, it makes me take great pride, and I hope this is the same impact that we can leave with our listeners. So
You
I
bet.
appreciate it.
All right.
All right. And thank you everyone for tuning in for this mini season. If you haven't watched the other episodes, you should probably go and do that because they're really good. And we will see you next week with season 3 of The Business of Cleaning.